In early 2015, John Giuca's appellate attorney filed a motion with the New York Supreme Court, accusing Brooklyn Homicide Bureau Chief Anna-Sigga of hiding evidence, filing forged documents, and vouching for perjured testimony at Giuca's trial. These accusations had been previously submitted to Ken Thompson's Conviction Review Unit, which summarily rejected them when upholding Giuca's murder conviction earlier this year. In response to the motion, the Brooklyn DA filed a lengthy brief discussing matters in the case that the court had ruled on years earlier. The appellate attorney asked the court to vacate Giuca's conviction on the grounds that the Brooklyn DA had not contested any of the allegations against Niccolazzi. The court ruled that prosecutor Niccolazzi would be questioned under oath at a public hearing in November. What did ADA Niccolazzi do to cause such a fuss? John Avito was arrested for burglary and related crimes. John Giuca is taken into custody and charged with the Mark Fisher murder. John Giuca and John Avito are held at Rikers. They don't know each other. John Avito pleads guilty. He gets 18 to 24 months in a drug program. His contract says his sentencing will be postponed until he completes the drug program. If he violates any rules of the program, he will be sent to prison for 3.5 to 7 years. John Avito deserts the drug program, a felony. A warrant is issued for his arrest. Avito reaches out to a Detective Burns, telling him he has information about the Mark Fisher murder. Detective Burns walks Avito into the office of Brooklyn ADA Niccolazzi, who is investigating the murder. John Avito tells ADA Niccolazzi that John Giuca confessed to killing Mark Fisher while they were both locked up at Rikers. John Avito is escorted from the DA's office to the court, uncuffed. He is accompanied by homicide prosecutor Niccolazzi, who speaks privately with the judge. The judge vacates John Avito's arrest warrant and then lets him go home. The next day, John Avito refuses a urine test. The day after that, John Avito tests positive for cocaine. 2 days later, John Avito is back in court. The Brooklyn District Attorney gets him released without bail. John Avito tells his outpatient drug counselor that he is using cocaine. He is sent to detox. John Avito leaves the detox program. A warrant is issued for his arrest. 4 days later, John Avito is back in court. The Brooklyn District Attorney gets him released without bail. The next day, the court puts John Avito into the Kingsborough Rehabilitation Center. Next week, John Avito was kicked out of the Kingsborough Rehabilitation Center. This is reported to the court on September 19th in a letter identifying Avito as a criminal defendant whose next court appearance is October 6th. At the September 19th court appearance, an angry judge admonishes John Avito, describing his situation as not good. John Avito tells the judge that he is testifying for the Brooklyn DA at a murder trial later that week. The judge vacates the warrant and sets John Avito free, adding, "Apparently we are going to give you another chance." The attending ADA would later report that senior homicide prosecutor Niccolazzi telephoned and requested that John Avito not be prosecuted. Avito was ordered to return to the court on October 6th. A few days later, John Avito testifies at John Giuca's murder trial. At Giuca's murder trial, prosecutor Niccolazzi tells the jury that John Avito is doing good in his drug rehabilitation program, and that neither she nor anyone else in the Brooklyn DA's office is doing any favors for him in exchange for his testimony. ADA Niccolazzi never handed over to the court the September 19 letter, identifying Avito as a defendant in an active criminal case. Instead, she submitted a forged letter, dated September 20th, which concealed from jurors John Avito's most recent dealings with her office. Defense counsel questions Avito about his violations in chronological order, but ends this inquiry where the forged September 20th letter obscures the fact that the Brooklyn DA kept Avito out of prison 3 days earlier, on September 19th. When questioning Avito about his criminal case, ADA Nicolazzi sticks to the false version of events depicted in the forged letter, which enables her to tell the jury that Avito is doing good in his drug program, and conceal Avito's September 19th court transcript from the trial judge and defense. When questioning Avito about his June 13th court appearance, ADA Nicolazzi elicits false testimony from him, which conceals the favors she and Detective Burns did for him that day. Avito falsely testifies to go along with the ruse. Question: the first time you left the program, did they have to come find you, or did you contact your counselor on your own after you left? Answer: I went to Sean Ryan's office. I contacted him on my own. And then we walked over to the court, and Judge Parker and Ryan and the DA came up to the judge. I guess Sean Ryan had a talk, and he got me another shot. The June 13 court transcript lists Nicolazzi as the DA Avito mentions being in court that day. Nicolazzi never clarified this for the jury. After the government emasculates Giuca's civil rights, he never stands a chance. Only the prosecutors and Avito know that his testimony against Giuca is sandwiched between two of his own criminal court appearances, and that prosecutors had gotten a felony warrant against Avito quashed 3 days earlier. While concealing Avito's September 19th court transcript, ADA Nicolazzi ridicules the defense for its inability to produce any evidence showing that Avito is receiving special treatment from her office. Now, defense has suggested with respect to John Avito, he's making this up and willing to say anything because he's trying to help himself, and he's getting some sort of deal. First of all, there is no evidence in the record of that. If he had gotten consideration, then there would be absolutely nothing to hide about that. So Mr. Gregory can be as loud and as dramatic as he wants with all his wild speculations based on no evidence that is anywhere in the record. So ladies and gentlemen, even if you scream and yell, it doesn't make it so. So to believe the defense, the DA is in on it, the police are in on it. But that makes absolutely no sense and is not corroborated by any of the evidence in the record. It turns out the DA was in on it, and that DA was Nicolazzi herself. She concealed from the jury her own intervention in Avito's criminal case from as far back as June 13th, the day she accompanied Avito to court, to as recently as September 19th, when she telephoned and asked that Avito not be prosecuted 3 days before he testifies at Giuca's murder trial. ADA Nicolazzi withheld all evidence that Avito received special treatment from her office before eliciting misleading testimony from him regarding his motive for testifying against Giuca. The forged letter, dated September 20th, was a key instrument in the deception. It was fabricated during Giuca's trial, somewhere between Avito's September 19th appearance in his own criminal case and his appearance 3 days later at Giuca's trial. It erases evidence of Avito's ejection from his drug program and conceals the existence of Avito's September 19th court transcript from defense counsel and the trial judge, thus giving ADA Nicolazzi a forged blank check to hoodwink trial judge Alan Morris into not instructing the jury that Evito had received special treatment from her office. For Your Honor to give this jury a charge to decide if there is consideration, when actually he knows there hasn't been, puts something in front of the jury that just isn't there, and I object to it. Nowhere in the annals of federal case law has a prosecutor been documented lying to a judge in order to trick the judge into a favorable ruling. Ada Nicolazzi was able to do this by keeping Judge Morris in the dark about her intervention in Evito's criminal case. After doing this, Ada Nicolazzi remembers to make sure that Detective Burns, who knows the truth, is not questioned at Giuca's trial. Just so you know, the order for the morning, we have the medical examiner, which is both juries, the ballistics expert, which is both juries, a detective is both juries, and then there's a Detective Burns at the end. Just with respect to Mr. Russo. During her final summation, Ada Nicolazzi vouches for Evito's perjured testimony, imploring the jury to believe things she knows to be untrue. Every time Evito had a problem with this program, he contacted his counselor right away. This man with years and years of drug addiction, and problems that you know was caused by the unfortunate abuse he suffered as a child. Objection, Judge. That's not the testimony. Well, this is something the juror's recollection will control. This is a man who had made mistakes over and over all his life, and for once he tried to do something right. It's not surprising that a judge would choose to give multiple chances when he was showing himself to be acting responsibly. And for that, defense counsel wants you to condemn him, with all of his wild speculation that he threw out before you, based on no evidence that is anywhere in the record. No evidence to corroborate anything he said to you. You know from his testimony that John Evito had pleaded guilty months before he came to the police with this information on his own. When somebody was given consideration, you heard that right from the start. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is any questions of any portion of testimony, ask to have it read back. It's there for you to see in black and white. With no forensic evidence, no gun recovered, and conflicting testimony, John Giuca was convicted and received 25 years to life. Ada Nicolazzi received a $43,000 increase in salary immediately after the trial.
I think most prosecutors, especially most federal prosecutors, are upright, and they do not, and this has been my experience, they do not want to get a conviction for somebody without a fair hearing and without a true finding of innocence. But there are always people out there who want to get ahead by cutting the corners.
And tonight on our Great American Panel, she's currently a bureau chief in the Kings County District Attorney's Office Homicide Division in Brooklyn, New York, Anna-Sigga Nicolazzi, right?
Yes, that is right.
Sweating it. All right. Good to see you. Your first time. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Let's start with...
We are then confident that those 2 million people that we now have in jail in our country, 2 million people have in jail, that they all belong there. Once the government withholds evidence, once the government willfully withholds evidence as exculpatory and gets a conviction, then we can no longer be confident.
10 years later, after reviewing these facts, Brooklyn DA Ken Thompson refused to vacate Giuca's conviction.
Out on the sidewalk and don't block the sidewalk.
Giuca's attorney motions the New York State Supreme Court, accusing Nicolazzi of violating Giuca's civil rights.
And all I ask is for a fair trial. Give my son a fair trial. He's an innocent man. He deserves that much.
The New York Supreme Court rules that Ada Nicolazzi and others will be questioned under oath at a mid-November hearing.
And you feel that this decision definitely sets you on the path for that?
Absolutely. There'll be a hearing and the truth is going to come out.
Alabama Johnny.